Today, we are talking about eBay's AutoPay on auctions once again because some consigners are going to trial this over the next few weeks. They've been selected for beta testing, and I think it's going to be a really clear indication as to whether or not this thing is going to work. I'll then give some interesting insights off the back of Jeff Wilson regarding some comments he sort of made towards Rick Probstein and whether or not we're actually going to see some consigners actually turn this thing on. So I'm going to save that for the end, but in the interim, I'll talk you through PC Sports Cards because they made a post on Instagram a few hours ago talking about the fact that they've been selected for beta testing by eBay and they're going to run this trial from July 1 to 8. So they're going to run a specific auction with AutoPay turned on. Now, like I said in the last video, basically what eBay is requiring as part of this process is that when you place your bid, including your max bid, you're going to have a valid credit card on file. Now, there's obviously a lot of questions about that, but this post goes a little bit of the way to help explain maybe how it works. So as we sort of discussed last time, this is, working on eliminating things like unpaid items, relisting, shilling, payout times, hassle, stress, etc. I think we can all agree that if AutoPay works like it should and it doesn't impact people on, combined shipping or anything like that, I think it's a thing that is super necessary for the hobby because there is so much shill bidding, including, some pretty big consigners. Now, this page here on the Instagram talks about how it's going to work. So like we discussed last time, in order to place a bid, buyers will be required to enter a valid credit card / debit card. Now, what was interesting to me in the last video is actually some people told me in the comments, you can actually get digital credit cards and you can just sign up for them in case you don't own one for yourself. You can deposit money and then use that. So I'm curious to see whether or not those kinds of credit cards would be, applicable here, because if that is the case, obviously somebody can create a $1 credit card and then use that. And then, when it goes to get charged 1 hour after auction, like it says over here, there's going to be no funds on that credit card, because typically with a normal credit card, you're going to go into the negative or your bank's going to have your details and all that sort of stuff. So, if eBay wants to chase you for non-payment, they can sort of identify you. But if people are sort of using, temporary credit cards and debit cards, I don't know, what they can do in that particular instance aside from banning the eBay account itself. Now, in terms of the auction eligibility, it's going to be items sent in for consignment must be valued between $300 and $100, which is interesting. I'm not sure what it means if it sells for over those amounts. I'd be curious to see how that's going to work. And then they themselves, as the consigner, have to have your cards by Wednesday, June 26. I think they've got some of the cards here that they're going to feature within their auction, but it's a pretty interesting one and one that I hope, works, because if it does in fact work, I can't see anyone being unhappy with this. Like, yes, this whole piece here about 1 hour after the auction ends maybe gives people a window to delete their credit card perhaps, or do something, hanky-panky, I don't know. But I hope that 1 hour window is there to sort of allow for combined postage and stuff like that, because that's one of the people's biggest gripes, right? Number one, that they don't want to be charged postage multiple times. So I hope eBay sort of circumvents that somehow by this process. And number two, you've obviously got people upset about the fact they might not have the cash today. They might want to wait till payday or something along those lines. But again, like I mentioned, you can get digital credit cards for those specific purposes. And like I sort of said last time too, obviously there's going to be some people upset about the combined postage thing and maybe sellers taking advantage of that, which I hope is not the case. And eBay should, try and stop that. But some people are unhappy about the combined postage thing, and that sucks, right? But I think it's sort of the lesser of two evils, right? I'd rather see, people lose out on items for their PC that they would want if that means we can effectively get rid of shill bidders. And again, some people did say last time, like, is it actually going to work? Can people just have the credit card charge or a fake credit card or something along those lines? What's to stop, shill bidding from disappearing and all that kind of thing? Like, yes, obviously this is not going to prevent it 100%, but if it gets us, some of the way there, I think it's, a really, good situation to be in. Now, at the start of the video, you would have heard me mention that I mentioned Jeff Wilson and, Rick Probstein. You sort of had the transcript there so I could find the exact timestamp. About 19 minutes in, if I've got the right timestamp correctly, Jeff basically mentioned that he put the question to Rick Probstein whether or not he's going to turn this on for his auctions, and he said he didn't receive a text back from Rick, implying that maybe Rick is not going to turn it on. Now, Jeff did say that if he does receive a response from Rick at a later date, he would post it in the comments below and pin it. There is nothing there, so clearly Rick hasn't responded, or maybe Jeff has just forgotten about it. But this is from June 14, so it's currently 5 days after. This is June 14 Australian time, I think, is the release date. It's currently June 19 here in Australia, which is pretty interesting because, this process is not going to work if, these consigners themselves are not going to make it mandatory, right? You expect these things to be turned on. And if someone like Rick is not turning it on, that raises a heck of a lot of questions. Now, he might not have been asked. Maybe he hasn't been one of the people to do the beta testing or anything like that. So we have to cut him some slack. But if he does have the opportunity and he chooses not to turn it on, or that business chooses not to turn it on, that's a little bit concerning in my opinion. And I think it will just add fuel to the fire, because his platform and his page gets constantly, categorized as being shill bid and all that kind of thing. And we've seen a lot of cards on that platform get shill bid. But now that he's got an opportunity, or their business has an opportunity to sort of protect customers in that instance, and they're not turning it on, it is a big red flag. So again, nothing, confirmed to date. We just need to wait to sort of see what happens. But that's going to be really disappointing for eBay if that's sort of where things go. Because I think 9 times out of 10, a consignor is not going to turn it on if they have the option, because they want people to bid more. They want to make more commission, and they sort of want these cards to sell for more, because then people are going to, submit cards to them to maximize value and all that kind of thing. eBay really need to make this thing mandatory, because you sort of can't let the lunatics run the asylum, if you know where I'm going. So that's sort of it for today. Like I said, just a very quick update, because this thing needed to be talked about. Keep an eye on that PC sports card auction. Let's sort of see how it goes. I'm really curious to see, like I said, if these prices, actually come down, if they sell for less than comps or anything like that, or we actually still see shill bidding come through. This is going to be a really good test case, and I hope we start, seeing more of it. So, let me know your thoughts down below. Check out that Jeff video for when he does mention that piece that I did just, outline, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.